comic books, video games, television, and movies. In a world where the media has been dominated by superheroes and sci-fi, these barely Irish assholes must band together to make sense of it all. It's not news. It's utterly nonsense.
All right,
that's the weirdest thing I've ever seen from my girlfriend text me.
Okay. What a way to start.
I mean, so...
obviously, because...
If it wasn't
already
obvious to anyone watching or listening, I'm not sure what the actual post version of this is going to look like. We are live here on Twitch.
Yes. Why are we live? Because I'm sure we have a load of thoughts about this, and we're just going to be talking over each other the whole time, so apologies in advance if you can't discern any speech, but... yeah, I'm not going to dig in and have to edit through all this, so I'm safe.
Okay, so anyway...
John's actually smiling genuinely for the first time in 4 years as well.
Yes, and as you can see, if you didn't notice, I have the artistic black and white, just like all of the Snyder Cut posts on Vero, which, by the way, Utterly Nonsense is now on Vero, your premier source for all the Snyder Cut-related things somehow, because... he just decided to post on there, but we're also on there now. So just another platform for you to follow us, like us, share us, sniff us. Don't do that. But anyway, all links, utterlynonsense.com.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah.
Oh, well done.
Anyway, if you are new to the podcast, first of all, thanks for tuning in. Don't know how you found us, but thanks for finding us. Check out all of our links, utterlynonsense.com.
Yep.
All of our podcasts are on all of our various audio platforms, so go check that out if you like what you hear here. With all that being said, let's get into it.
So, the very first episode we recorded, the first official episode of this, with us talking, we were arguing about BVS. From the very start, This has been at our core.
So I've been thinking about it. I think in terms of a contained narrative and a well-told story, I think Wonder Woman does take it, but I still enjoyed Batman v Superman more because they're my favorite characters, and I've been wanting to see a movie like that forever, so...
Okay, fine, but it had no plot.
Oh, it did have a plot.
No, it didn't.
I don't know. How can you get confused by the plot? All you gotta do is watch it.
By the plot. There is none.
There is a plot.
Okay.
And we were there. We did the Justice League review. Jack wasn't there, but Mike and Eric were there. Yeah. We had some fun times. Back then, when the original Justice League came out, I so wanted to like it. I was like, no, it can't be worse than Wonder Woman. I have to believe it's good. It just has to be good. Come on.
Yeah, well, I was kind of undecided whether I would put, where I would put, like, Wonder Woman or Justice League. Whether... Wonder Woman is better than League, but no. It can't be better than Justice League. I have to believe that it's not better than the team-up movie, but we'll discuss that.
What?
It wasn't
I just remember...
It was not good.
I remember my initial reaction being, like, almost from a place of denial. Like, I thought,
exactly.
Oh, it's better than this, right? Like...
Yeah.
I didn't just see one of the worst superhero movies ever made. It was better than what I thought. I just, I need to let it sit a bit. I remember when Eric and I did our low-res review for it, I gave it like a B-, which was extraordinarily...
That's generous.
Extraordinarily generous. And Eric gave it like a D, and I was like, how could you... It's Justice League. How can you give it a D?
Well, I want to give it an 8 out of 10, but I feel like there's things that...
give it a letter grade. I'm going to give it a B-. B-, C+. B-.
That's what I agree.
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. We're pretty much on the same page for this one for once.
But yeah, I saw it. I rewatched it like a week later. I went to another theater a week later to watch it. And oh my god, it just doesn't hold up beyond that initial viewing. It's incredible, especially after seeing the Snyder Cut. It's incredible how bad Warner Brothers just managed to make the theatrical release. I don't know how they could have screwed this up.
Well, the thing is...
a couple factors, probably.
I was thinking about it, and we won't get into spoilers yet, which, by the way, the fact that I even have to warn spoilers tells you just how different this movie is. It's like a whole series condensed. It's ridiculous.
Well, you might as well have been watching a mini series of I don't know, just anything Marvel based.
So yeah, exactly.
First of all, I will say,
made it too.
I will say, if you are watching our podcast here and you haven't seen the Snyder Cut already,
go watch it.
Why are you watching our podcast? Go watch it.
Yes, please.
Legitimately.
But, literally, guys, it's like 2 hours longer than the actual release.
Jack saw it.
I saw it even.
You can do it. He doesn't watch anything. Go
really
see
don't.
But yeah, so the Snyder Cut is literally 2 hours longer than the theatrical release of Justice League.
Oh my god, that was hard.
There's at least 2 hours of unseen footage, and there's a lot more than 2 hours of unseen footage.
Yeah, remember that one guy on Twitter who's like,
it's not
what was the thing? 412 minutes or something like that? No, 214 minutes. I got the numbers reversed. So Zack Snyder posted that thing with the film reels that said 214. It's like, that's the length of it. And the guy said, but that's just an assembly cut. That's where all the other footage was added from. Everyone's been saying, there's no other footage. That's the whole, maybe there's a few deleted scenes. Okay, but they got nothing. They got nothing. He's got to film the whole thing. Look, they gave him money. He's making a new movie, which is $30 million. Okay, maybe $70 million all said and done with marketing and all that. But he made a new movie, right?
Marketing
is a big thing. No, sir. You see, the thing was, at the same time he was filming the things that Warner Brother wanted, he was filming the things that he wanted. Double shots, back to back. It was all there, and now you can see it. Now you are proven wrong, good sirs.
I just remember, maybe it was like when the release of the Snyder Cut hashtag first started trending, you had just this entire community of DC fans who were passionate about this project, who, more or less either were disappointed by the release, or for whatever reason, release the Snyder Cut took off really quickly after the movie came out.
I remember release the Snyder Cut being trending on Twitter so much throughout 2018 specifically, just because of how disappointing the past two movies were by Zack Snyder.
Our first video on it was like 3 years ago. We reposted it.
Legit.
Saw it on Twitter.
And I just don't know why it gained so much vitriol, but if you were not part of that movement and you were looking from the outside looking in, you would also see just like this group of journalist Twitter, right?
Pretty much.
People I'm talking about, who basically took to Twitter to say how toxic the fan base was and how this was never going to happen. We got to let it go.
Then Snyder said, screw you toxic fans. I don't need you pretty much.
So what can you say now?
Yeah.
The movie came out. It existed.
What was the whole point of that? Why did you campaign against it? Is it just because something you didn't like? Do you hate seeing people passionately striving for something? You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards. Why do you not like that? Maybe they just don't like Zack Snyder. Maybe they're paid by Disney. Paid by Disney.
Or maybe they just hate happiness and joy.
I don't understand the incentive, but what I will say is I've spent enough time on social media to know that for every movement there is, for every action there is, for every tweet there is, there's someone on the opposite side who exists just to try to cancel it out.
Mm-hmm.
Not to equate that with cancel culture, but literally
no, we're not doing this again.
Literally, there's
too much. My brain's about to be fried from it.
Yeah.
Just for lack of a better term, there's so many trolls on Twitter who exist really just to try to piss people off, who try to take the counter approach, who try to do everything in their power to try to tear you down. What can you really do? That's just the nature of social media, And
let's be real. Hey, let's look at the Godzilla fandom for reference. Do they say all their movies are stupid as hell? Yes. Do they still like them? Yes. Mm-hmm. So be happy and shut up, for the love of God.
Yeah. But we are now
it's not that
here.
hard. It really isn't.
After all the time, we are now here, and you see all the critics doing a 180. You'd be like, oh yeah, I got to review it now because I'm such an influencer. People care about my opinion.
So I will say I was looking through the Rotten Tomatoes reviews, basically as soon as they came out, because I wanted to see what the journalist class had to say about this thing after it came out. Since obviously, love them or hate them, you got to acknowledge that objectively they have not been enjoying these movies, right? Like they're clearly movies that are made for the DC fandom. So if you're from the outside looking in, it might not be your thing. That's fine. But you probably shouldn't be reviewing this thing if you're coming from the perspective of like a hoity-toity, I'm a film buff who writes for the New Yorker type thing,
I only indulge in the refined Marvel palette.
We need
Which is weird because
WandaVision
best fit for the elite.
The beautiful Elizabeth
I
Olsen.
hate myself more.
And who was the other guy? Paul Bettany. Wondrous Shakespearean actors. An astonishing achievement. Get out. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I'm just saying. Why the double standard?
Jack and I actually did, if you haven't checked out our last podcast, Jack, me, and Mike Karowich did a actual review on WandaVision. So,
right. I was like, wait, what's the joke here?
What, you think I just called you out for something?
No, I was just like, wait, what did I do this time? Now it's just like, oh yeah.
But yeah, it's actually a great
series. These things, people.
And Disney Plus has actually set a whole new bar for streaming quality television. So
it really has.
I was saying before we actually start recording here, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I just started, and yeah,
I haven't seen the premiere of that yet. That'll probably be my homework assignment as
expect another review.
Expect another one.
I will say it's entertaining. I don't think it's as good as WandaVision yet, but you can tell that they clearly also spent a lot of money putting together the series. So it's like the same quality as WandaVision and Mandalorian. It's definitely up there. You can see where the budget's going.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get too off topic since we're talking about.
I was going to say
this is DC time.
To circle back to a point I started, and then we got way into a tangent. So the original Justice League, Warner Brothers wanted a single. They wanted to have their cake and eat it, right? They wanted to have single contained movies, but they also wanted a whole universe built out within the span of 3 movies. Now, think about how many movies it took Marvel to build up to Avengers. It was a lot more 10? Than 3. For the DC universe, you just had Man of Steel, which was just Superman, and that was good, and that was fine. I just rewatched it. Great movie. Flawed. Right. It has some flaws.
I will say, I still think the worst casting choice that DC has made is putting Amy Adams in as Lois Lane.
I'm okay with that. But here's one good thing about her.
Ginger does not approve of Ginger Lois.
Redhead, but they didn't even change her hair.
It's not a ginger, though.
Exactly,
true.
She's not.
So why is whatever? It's
Anyway,
I would have liked.
I'm against the
yeah. Then BVS, which had the Ultimate Edition of it, because I watched that as well right before.
Actually pretty good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the Snyder Cut, and this is the main point I'm getting to. It's like a series where you have all of these elements introduced, but as a contained film, I don't know if it really works as a single movie for me. Like, it's more of an episodic thing. Like, to me, it was kind of like watching how they had the whole DC animated movie universe with like the New 52 type things, and it was ongoing. It felt like that to me. It's kind of dark. Well, a lot darker than what you would typically expect from something like Marvel. And it just had all these ongoing plot threads, new elements introduced, and this character's got to have a story, and that character's got to have a story. So, on one hand, I could see why people wouldn't like these as a single movie, but on the other, look at what Warner Brothers was asking Zack Snyder to do. Build this universe, do these characters justice, but you can't do them justice unless you tell their stories proper, which, with the Snyder Cut especially, I feel like he did as much as he could. And again, it works as like a long episodic thing, and it is in parts, but as a film, literally, you could have never shown that in a theater.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it could have gotten like a grand IMAX treatment if it had been built right. Because not to say a 4-hour movie is something that you see all too often.
I don't think ever.
I can't. I'm sure there have been releases.
Gone with the Wind, like in a super long movie.
It had an intermission,
like approaching 3 hours. A lot of older movies.
Why?
Well,
it's so long.
Okay, so here's a little bit of film history for you. So back in the olden days when films were still shown on physical analog reels.
Oh God!
Longer movies, so like I think even like 2 hours and onward, like any sort of epic. I know Gone with the Wind was one that had an intermission. I know there have been a handful of others. I'm trying to think what the other big example is. Lawrence of Arabia is another one that was like close to 3 hours long and had to have that intermission. The whole reason they had the intermission was because you physically could not fit that much film on one reel. You would have to switch out the reel midway through the actual movie to actually make it flow, right? So that's why you would have the intermission as opposed to, just like a brief second of dark screen. Plus, it gave film goers the chance to go get concessions and actually support the theater. So, you wouldn't have to risk losing part of the movie.
Another reason.
Anyway, that's why they had intermissions.
Why theaters might not like longer films is because that means less showings, and the theater is occupied for longer for people only paying for one ticket.
Yeah. So, I think
make sense.
I think as we're seeing more of a rise of streaming and as we're seeing more of a push to put movies on these streaming platforms first, and who knows if that'll last post-COVID at all, I think there have been some major shifts there. Obviously, The Irishman came out pre-COVID, and that was 3.5 hours.
Yeah, I
could not make it into a theater.
I felt like I was getting old as I was watching
I thought it was good.
Shocker, another one Jack hasn't seen. Haha.
So I will say, and again, just to go to the whole Rotten Tomatoes journalist point, despite the fact that it had overwhelmingly positive reviews, the fan base, I think, held it at like a 97%, which is insane. And that's with 10,000 plus reviews. You got to realize, given that massive sample size,
it's bots. It's Russians. No, those Snyder Cut people are supported by the Russians. No.
Even journalist Twitter gave it like a 78%, which is like way higher than basically any other DC movie to this point, aside from like Shazam and Wonder Woman.
In the interest of balancing and fairness,
where's Shazam?
In the interest
Shazam's at like a 91 or something. It's very high.
Of all things balanced, WB paid them. No.
Listen, man, Warner Brothers has always been up to something, but
well, it's like it's the whole back when we reviewed Captain Marvel. That was our theory. For why it had like
don't get me started on that
%something on there.
You could just always throw out that theory. It's so easy. Prove me wrong.
Possible.
Prove me wrong.
You really have no idea how much money's changing hands behind these.
God.
So I will say they did give it a mostly positive rating. The critics who are professionally Rotten Tomatoes approved critics who are at these formal news sites and not just like independent reviewers like us. But basically,
no one bought
the whole like every single negative review.
I might be biased.
Point, right? It's too long. It's 4 hours long. Who could expect to sit through this thing?
I sat through it. No interruption.
pretty much.
I had a pee. But...
Oh yeah, I sat through it all in one sitting.
I sat through all three movies in one day.
Like, it does not feel like a 4 hour long movie. You actually can sit through it and enjoy it. You don't feel like it drags overly in any major spots. It's actually really well paced. And anyone who's complaining about the 4 hour long runtime probably hasn't actually seen the movie yet.
And these people also like watch a season of Schitt's Creek in a day or something ridiculous.
Yeah, they'll binge watch something
and say,
magnificent plot, great pacing.
You think about how much television the average viewer watches in a single sitting. It's more than 4 hours.
So it's definitely more than 4 hours for me.
Why would a 4 hour movie dissuade you if you're sitting in front of the television?
I can tell you right now, because it's March Madness season. I watched at least 6 hours of basketball yesterday. Like, so people get over it.
Yeah, so that's just like such a ridiculous reason to give it a negative review because it's too long, you know.
So also a very petty reason. It's like, what? I don't even something actually constructive to that. You know, would it make your movies that you want to be in your fandom be better?
Well, I could see it if they were coming at it from the angle of some of this could have been condensed. Like we could have cut out some extraneous parts, like some of the parts, for instance, and I won't get into it right now, but. Some of the scenes that hint at, like we were saying before we recorded, hanging plot threads teasing for a universe that we know most likely won't be built at this point unless we restore the Snyderverse.
I think that's probably going to be,
Yeah, I feel like if you...
It's going to pick off. I feel like that's the next transition for them.
I feel like if you dropped a couple of those, the movie would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
Other than that... say... Yeah, you're right, and I will say right now, 9 out of 10. I thought it was a phenomenal effort. I thought it was a perfect director's cut.
Man,
yeah, but
can you even call it a director's cut?
It was like drastically different from the theatrical release.
Yeah,
so
it's not even a cut. Yeah. It's like because a cut would imply the scenes are edited differently. It's like it's Zack Snyder's Justice League.
I know a lot of people brought up the whole Blade Runner comparison, right? Where there was like
what.
You don't need to have seen the movie to get what I'm saying, but basically that was a movie that had like 6 or 7 different cuts, and there's like different segments of the fan base that consider what cut is canon, what cut is actually the best. But so like there's multiple director's cuts, there's multiple like theatrical cuts, whatever. They're not drastically different from cut to cut, but it's like the obvious comparison. there is the obvious difference between Blade Runner and the Snyder Cut is that you're not really dealing with it's like obviously a drastically different movie, whereas those are mostly the same movie, if that makes sense.
And isn't Blade Runner Marvel? Blade Runner Marvel.
No, it's not a comic thing. It's
not?
It's a Ridley Scott thing. So
it's based on
Ridley Scott. Okay,
it's based on a book called Do Androids
Electric Sleep?
Sheep?
Do androids sleep?
Androids dream of electric sheep? And then the name Blade Runner was taken from a different book, but Ridley Scott just liked that title better, so he just took it.
Oh yeah, and it makes like no sense in the actual context of the movie to call these cops Blade Runners, but
it's just a code
sounds
word.
Cool. Yeah.
Wait, Blade Runners, but the
Blade Runner is just the name of these cops that hunt down these androids in the future. It's
sort of like bounty hunter, sort of like cop.
Yeah. So
Ryan Reynolds is in it, right?
Who?
Ryan Reynolds is in this, right?
No. Ryan Gosling was in the newer one.
Ryan Gosling, what?
He's in Blade Runner 2049, but no, the original came out in the 80s. It was Harrison Ford.
Yeah, 82, I believe.
Was it that? I thought it was 84, but yeah, 82 sounds right.
How about that?
Yeah. So a better comparison for what you were saying would be the Richard Donner Supermans, because originally he was contracted to film 2 movies back to back, and after they got through the first one, they were in the middle of filming the second. I think they might have got like halfway or something like that. Could be more. I forgot. I saw the documentary a while ago. But the point is, he had a lot filmed, but there was creative differences, of course, between him and the owners of the rights to Superman on film, which was not Warner Brothers at this point. They were independent owners. So eventually he leaves the project, and they do all these reshoots, and then you get Superman 2, which is pretty different from, and you can buy this on DVD, Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut. Even the ending of the first movie got changed because the originally intended ending of Superman 2 was when he flies around the Earth and turns back time, not Superman 1. So that right there, I mean, the whole way that the plot is solved in 2 is completely different, but there's a bunch of different scenes too. And that took 26 years to come out, and this only took 4. Why?
It was like 3.5.
Because of us. Us united.
Well, because we're able to complain on the internet a lot faster and easier now. So
that's true.
The one good thing to come out of Twitter.
The only good thing.
But I mean, the whole thing does sort of talk. It is sort of a commentary on how powerful the fan base is. Because look, this never would have been able to happen like even a decade ago.
Or the Sonic thing.
Nope.
Oh yeah, totally. But it does tell you that these executives might not have the most let's say creative sense, right? They might not have the best idea of what actually works for a good story.
They're just the guys with the money, let's be real.
When you put on the pressure, when the fan base overwhelmingly shows their disdain for something, that speaks volumes, you know?
Yeah. Well, let's also be honest, because without HBO Max, because this was even before COVID, without HBO Max wanting to sell its platform because they're thinking, all right, well, Netflix already has all these other things. It has its own Marvel shows that people probably forgot about already. Now Disney Plus has all of these Star Wars and Marvel shows. We need a big tentpole franchise thing to draw a lot of crowd in. This is the perfect thing. There's a demand for it. We see it. And I've read that it was mainly the, I don't know if it was the CEO, but somebody at AT&T said to the Warner Brothers Pictures, make this happen. So without that buyout and without HBO Max, we'd probably still be sitting here saying release it already.
Yeah, probably. Dang. And also, let's be real, they capitalized on DC everything in big time. Because when I was just surfing around, I was like, wow, they got all of them.
Yeah, there's so much DC stuff. I'm like, heaven.
I was just like, great, because I thoroughly enjoyed Aquaman.
So, I
enjoy it.
I still think it's probably the strongest movie in the DC universe.
I'm going to agree with
and
that.
Actually, it's hard for me to rank
complaints that I have.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard for me to rank Snyder Cut objectively, right? Like, I don't know if I can even compare it to the rest of the movie since it's a totally different film from anything else we've seen in the DC universe.
I'm going to talk my trash later. Don't worry, people.
It's like half a Flash movie, half a Cyborg movie, half an Aquaman movie. A quarter of a Wonder Woman movie.
Aquaman movie. It's like maybe a quarter Aquaman. It's
well, the thing is, it sets up all those things that would be explored in Aquaman. Like you see Willem Dafoe, who is the guy who taught him. You see Mira. They talk about his father. They talk about his mother, and then you see all of that played out in the Aquaman movie. So it literally set all these things up Like, that's what Warner Brothers asked him to do. Set this up. He did it. And they said...
The weird thing is, you had inklings of that in the theatrical release, right? Like, the scene where he's actually talking with Mara, and you sort of get the sense of, oh, he abandoned his people or something.
Yeah, but it made no sense, because there's no context.
Over. Yeah, there's no, there's no reference to anything whatsoever. So if you don't know anything about this character going in, you're completely blind to the scene. It makes literally no sense. And they just basically trim this thing down to nothing. Why?
Yeah.
And
why?
It's the same thing in...
it was only a 2-hour-long theatrical release. They could have added on to that easily and still had an interested fan base. Jesus.
Also,
it's the same with...
Also, in the interest of fairness, because I know we do all like the DC animated universe, the Bruce Timm things, and Justice League Unlimited. When they set up that team, all the heroes, aside from Superman and Batman, kind of just came in out of nowhere. They didn't really have a setup. But to be fair, there's a little setup for Wonder Woman, and she's excluded from what I'm about to say. To be fair, it was presented as though all of these heroes had already been established. Like, you know, cutting it slack because it's a cartoon aside, and they only have, like, less than a half hour with each part. It was established that these were all heroes. Martian Manhunter, he also got a setup. Right. It was all about
which
him.
I was just like,
first
what?
episode is
not yet. Yeah. So, you know, Flash comes in, and he was a guest in an episode of Superman, and then Green Lantern. It was a different Green Lantern, but here in this Justice League, nobody is established. I guess aside from Wonder Woman technically, but it's all like they were in hiding, they were loners, they're outcasts, and now they all come out of the woodwork.
So I'm trying to think of where this would have been chronologically. Like, this would have been the fifth, assuming the Snyder Cut by some miracle had actually hit theaters and we'd gotten the full 4-hour film back in 2017. This would have been the fifth movie in the DC Extended Universe after Wonder Woman, after BVS, after Suicide Squad, after Man of Steel.
Didn't Suicide Squad come
I mean, yeah, because it is...
Suicide Squad was number 3.
Oh my god, that... cringing.
Yeah, no, it was Man of Steel first, followed by BVS a couple years later, followed by Suicide Squad, which was like I think the summer after that, followed by Wonder Woman, and then Justice League came out the following. Yeah.
Oh right, so
Wonder Woman
three of them in 2017.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
they
Wonder
did
Woman,
great on timing.
Yeah.
So Wonder Woman could have. I feel like if you were going into this movie with some prior knowledge just of the DC universe and for some reason didn't know much about these characters beyond movies, you would know who Wonder Woman is, right? Like, she doesn't really need that much of a setup, but,
yeah.
She's also...
She comes in, and she's ready to fight, and you hear the...
Every single time she breathes.
Can I just say, that bank scene... First of all, that was like, look, they kept most of that in the theatrical release. It was obviously something that Snyder had shot directly.
Yeah.
There's this one part at the end of the bank scene that's in the Snyder Cut that's not in the theatrical release, where she's basically telling this little girl, you can do whatever you want. You can become whatever you want. That actually made me cry a little bit. It made me tear up. It made me choke up a little bit.
That's a good scene.
They cut that from the fucking theatrical release. And it's like one of the most heartwarming, enduring scenes in the movie.
Man, I did do a high-pitched awe when I saw that. I was just like, oh, okay, that's cute.
I think that girl's supposed to be Donna Troy.
That would be cool. That would be nice.
Wonder Girl, you can be anything you want.
That would be nice.
A setup. See, he set everything up. Everything is there. You got Ryan Choi, the Atom. You got spoiler, Martian freaking Manhunter. Dude, I do not exaggerate. The scene where he appeared, I wasn't completely not expecting it. Like, I knew he would make some appearance, but I was not ready. I literally go, no joke.
Yeah. So when I saw that, I literally was like, what? My grandma was walking by. She was like, you okay?
Yeah, I was like, what? What?
I was like, John Jones out of nowhere, but guess what? They're still not going to use the damn name because God forbid.
Yeah, because at first I see the red eyes, and I thought, is this a Darkseid thing? What's going on?
Yeah, I thought it was Darkseid. I was like, when could he do this?
Oh!
Yeah. Then I was just like, my Martian senses are tingling.
I will say, this is going to be an unpopular opinion. I love Martian Manhunter, but did he really need to be in the movie? Did it really seem organic?
No, that's where I agree.
You know, I'm glad that it at least introduces the possibility of bringing him in later. But,
and I do appreciate the fact that the epilogue was just like, I am here to help.
Yeah, and that part...
I used to be called the Martian Manhunter. And by the way, I just pretty much knew where you would be.
I'm just thinking, oh, Bruce is totally chill with this alien coming down.
Bruce would not be okay with that.
Like, literally the last movie was all, like, BVS was all about how he's, like, super cautious about the fact that an all-powerful alien is coming to this planet. Why would he suddenly be okay with Martian Manhunter?
Where's his security system? And thing entering airspace.
I paid $1 million for this.
Well, I mean, if Wonder Woman can dismantle it in under a minute, I'm sure Martian Manhunter can too. But
also,
telepathy crap.
Small gripe.
Crap, whatever the
nice Lake House too.
I don't know if, I guess that scene wasn't part of any of the extra scenes he did, because the only one he did was with the Joker. But small gripe, and this is the same gripe I have with Supergirl. Why all CGI? Just paint his face green like Gamora. Come on.
Yeah. Well, obviously, it did look better than Supergirl CGI. But,
yeah, totally.
That's a fair point.
I like the design, though. It looked cool, but come on, just paint his face. Use some makeup. Come on, get Star Trek up in this.
I guess you could argue
Gotta mention it. Can't go a single episode without mentioning Star.
For a character who is a shapeshifter, it's probably easier just to CGI the appearance than it is to, like, paint face green, because then, like, practically speaking, if you ever had to have him change to a different character, it would be a lot easier just to change the CGI than it would be to completely unpaint the face. I kind of get why they're coming at it like that from a technical perspective.
Logistically.
I agree that visually it would look better if it was done practically.
Yeah. It always looks
I wanted to ask a quick question, because we just talked about Bat v Superman timeline-wise. So Batman was already Batman for 20 years, and then 18 years later, Superman then shows up. I'm sorry, no, I'm pretty sure he was there the entire time Batman was Batman.
Well, look,
it's kind of weird that he doesn't know who he is.
I was just like, who the hell set this up?
But I mean, it's obviously
like
a different telling from traditional DC comics. I don't know if that was Snyder's decision or if that was WB. I'm not personally against it.
I just found it like a little off. I was just like, those numbers don't add up.
Well, it's like this. No, at the time BVS happens, they say he's been Batman for 20 years. So Superman at that point didn't show up to Metropolis until a year and a half earlier. And before that, he was just living in Kansas and then all over the world. So it's conceivable he probably wouldn't have heard of Batman until that point, until he gets involved with
Superman's
Gotham.
Perspective, I was talking about from Batman's. It was like, hey, you should have heard about this spaceship falling, but not the spaceship. Should have heard about this guy that does these extraordinary feats, and you're not curious
before Man of Steel, there was no Superman. And that's an interesting point for how the plot of the film, and this is why I still think BVS can be seen as a single film, because the whole thing revolves around kind of the reaction to Superman as a threat. Because it's like, first, nothing, and then all of a sudden, oh my god, aliens in the sky, they want some random guy? Can we trust this guy? Look at all the destruction he caused. Is he really here to save us, or is he just doing this in his own interest? Like, he's saving himself, but look at all the collateral damage. Can we expect this to keep happening? We have to get rid of him.
Technically,
I will say
yes.
So I will say that's actually like a really smart thing that DC did. That it took Marvel 8 years until Civil War, right? Give or take.
Civil War.
Obviously, if you're not realizing how much
2011?
destruction these Iron Man was 2008. Yeah.
Jesus.
If you're not automatically thinking about how much destruction is caused by these battles, by these fights between good and evil, how much actual logistical hell this would be, you're not paying attention to these movies. And Marvel straight up ignores that for most of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not until Civil War and Sokovia that you sort of get the sense that there's ramifications for those actions. And DC acknowledges that right away. Because how the fuck do you deal with the destruction of Gotham or Metropolis? Metropolis.
Let's be real. Every single time I saw Zod and Superman clash, I was just like, "That's $1 billion worth in collateral."
Yeah. Every single time they impact something,
oh my god!
Bang, bang, bang.
I was just like, "Is no one going to say anything?"
Yeah. Well, think about it too. This is his first time doing anything that physical as Superman, so he doesn't yet have that hyper awareness of everything around me is breaking. And Zod specifically said, I will do everything in my power to cause as much destruction as I can. So
yeah, he did say that.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone's
not happy with the design of him, but that was just it grows on you.
I don't think anyone would I don't think anyone's really griping about the motivations of the characters there. I think that all makes sense, right?
And also, something odd, in BVS, there's actually a lot less destruction when they fight Doomsday. Like, there's the one part where he jumps on the building and he has that burst, and okay, it takes off a number of buildings, like the top of them, but then they're on like the Striker's Island, which is abandoned, so not much destruction there. And then Batman says, "I led him back to this abandoned district in Gotham." So even though it's Doomsday against Superman, there's all those huge
and Doomsday is a literal
energy bursts.
Death.
Yeah, there was a lot less destruction than Man of Steel. Weird. I still don't really like that Doomsday.
That was not Doomsday. That was rip-off Doomsday.
Yeah, I always call it that
annoyed me.
That's Moldy Abomination from the Hulk 2008.
It's Moldy Abomination. Thank you.
Well, it's weird when you think about it, because even in the Ultimate Edition of BVS, the character didn't change at all. So was that Snyder's decision, or
yeah, I saw
was it a CGI?
The minor spikes coming out of him, and I was just like, "Oh, he's transformed into a little Doomsday," and then I was just like, "Oh no, he still looks like crap." Yay!
Here's what I think what Snyder was going for with all of this, because I think he wanted Superman out of the picture, and of course, the way to do that, Doomsday. All right, fine, whatever. The whole point, the through line through all of this, is to show in this universe, in this version of the DC universe, how screwed everybody is without Superman, but especially without Superman on your side. Because the whole nightmare is what happens when Superman's not on your side. And everything that happens leading up to when he comes back in Justice League is what happens without Superman. The world needs... That's the point.
Superman in the black suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
specifically, that's
Green Lantern. And Steppenwolf says no Kryptonians, no Green Lantern.
Yeah, except
no lanterns.
It's no lantern.
Except in the flashback, Darkseid just trashes that one Green Lantern like it was nothing.
Yeah, just cuts off his hand, which is like you'd think people would do that more often. And then
they usually have the energy shield protecting them from something like that, but whatever.
I don't think he was chosen.
Yeah. Oh, did you notice when they had the old gods fighting, like Zeus and Ares? They actually had what? They had David Thewlis actually come back as Ares for that.
Was that him?
I noticed it was his face. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a few brief moments where you can actually see his face. And
it was before he put that weird skull thing on.
Yeah.
But and he's a badass. He's the one who actually fatally wounds Darkseid during this.
Can I say?
Yeah, I thought that was very cool.
Though. The whole Old Gods battle, I loved that.
Even though that
was awesome. Like especially Ares and then Zeus with the lightning bolts. I was like, this looks damn cool. It's like 300 combined with superpowers.
Yeah. But I was really confused as why his arms were like glowing like molten lava. I was like, Hephaestus?
Oh, it's because it's Zeus. Yeah, but he's launching lightning from his arms.
It
obviously takes a lot of energy.
Have you seen Mortal Kombat? Sub-Zero? He has the ice-up arms. Scorpion has the fired-up arms. Raiden has the lightninged-up arms. It's just an aesthetic.
At first I was just like, what the heck? And then I was just like, oh, it's because I was thinking, which Greek god is this?
Yeah, no, it's just Zeus. And it's really... Why does he look like Leonidas? It's literally just Leonidas with lightning.
I was thinking he looked like Billy Butcher if he suddenly became a soup, right? But, okay, you need to see The Boys.
I haven't seen The Boys.
You gotta see The Boys.
Is that Carl Urban?
Looks like, yeah, Carl Urban.
Okay,
exactly.
Okay.
But Jack doesn't know who Carl Urban is, so that's Billy Butcher.
Oh, well, he's Bones in the Star Trek reboot films.
He's, what's his name? The bald guy from Thor Ragnarok?
Anything, John.
Yeah, he's the bald guy with the guns in Thor Ragnarok.
He's the guy who takes over for Idris Elba, the guy in the Watchtower, or not Watchtower. He's the guy
the Frost,
who basically takes the gatekeeper for... Yeah.
Bifrost.
Bifrost.
Oh, Scourge?
Scourge.
Yeah.
So that guy.
That's him.
And he's Judge Dredd in the 2012 movie Dredd that everyone.
My daddy was a stonemason.
Yeah, he's in a lot. He's great.
Nobody cares.
But watch The Boys because he's the main guy in The Boys and he's fantastic in it.
Yeah, he's like.
Oh yeah, I mean, I heard his
a
beautiful accent. So.
Okay. Anyway, so is it time we get into some plot or in detail, I should say.
Oh, before we do,
because I really want to talk some smack on Flash right now.
Before we do, the one thing I did want to bring up was Steppenwolf. Before we actually get into his motivations as a character, what did you think of the design? Because I know when we saw the initial trailer and the initial visual of him,
the joke that would be making next.
So initially, on looking at it in the still images, I thought it looked too busy. because there's a ton of detail on it. And I read somewhere that, he was answering some questions and he said Steppenwolf was like the hardest visual effect to pull off. And I could see why, because
still
it's all
images, parts and it's a full CG character.
Still images, I can't tell what I'm looking at, but in motion, it looks okay. You really have to see it in motion. Otherwise, it's like, what is that? But you get it. It's like a living armor that moves and transforms to deflect incoming damage. It makes sense when you watch it.
And it actually bends to his will, obviously, unless he's...
Yeah, like I love when Darkseid appears and he takes it off, like someone taking off their head.
It's just weird that that's what his actual head looks like, right?
I was just like, oh dear God.
Yeah, he's like some kind of goat man.
Thinking that's probably just a helmet or something. No, he's got this head.
It's his head.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was weird.
Got the actual horns and everything.
No,
it's
I like his face more. It's better.
Yeah, no, I think
it was like when Thor came across...
Yeah.
It was like Thor in Ragnarok when he encountered, what's his damn name? That hell-looking dude that causes Ragnarok.
Surtur?
Yeah, Surtur.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I was like...
Yeah, so basically, I saw a side-by-side comparison of the Justice League version. I think that's the first time we've said Justice League throughout this whole podcast. The Justice League version of Steppenwolf versus the Snyder Cut version of Steppenwolf. And it's, again, like night and day. Like, you can tell it's a similar model, but... it's a drastically different character.
He looks less like a generic nobody and more like something that would actually be a threat.
He looks more alien, which I kind of
He did look more alien, but his eyes made him look way more human to me as well.
Perfect example.
Slight sense.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
In BVS, the one deleted scene, or the one that isn't deleted, in the Ultimate Edition of when Luthor's in the Genesis chamber and he sees the hologram of Steppenwolf, it looks exactly like that. The design stays consistent. Good.
Which I liked, by the way. I did actually enjoy that.
Right. So, I will say, as a villain, I still don't think Steppenwolf is like a great villain by any means. But
I don't think he ever was.
A drastically better interpretation of the character. Like, he actually has motivations now for wanting to come to Earth.
Yeah, the fact
he's actually formidable. He doesn't seem like someone that you could easily just brush away, right? Like, you get this sense when he's fighting the Amazons right away. He's an actual threat. He takes them down like they're nothing. Yep. He basically knocks over a horse with his bare hands. That's fucking badass, man.
Cuts through all the Atlanteans.
Oh, yeah.
Like a hot knife.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ridiculous.
And if you look at the theatrical...
It's just like backhands them all.
Some generic CG villain, so... night and day on the...
No, generic CGI villain is Abomination still, so...
True. So
we all know how about that suck, people. All right.
Obviously, he can't be too overpowered in the actual release, right? You need to have the realization that, there are greater threats out there. Darkseid is going to be 10 times, if not infinitely stronger of a villain than Steppenwolf could ever even dream to be.
It's like Superman to Aquaman.
Yeah, exactly.
Kinda.
So... And it's like, it doesn't seem like Superman is so powerful that he could easily handle this on his own, right? You get the sense that they need this whole team, right?
That's a good thing about this. Everyone plays a part. It's not just like in the original version where I shouldn't say that's not the original. That's the reshot version. In the reshot version, when Superman comes in, it's over. That's it. He just... Hey, is this guy still bothering you? Just bip it up and hold on, I'll just go save some people. I could come back, I could go get popcorn, I could go take a piss. I'm still here, I just solve everything, but here everyone plays a part.
It basically defeats the whole point of having a Justice League movie. You don't need the Justice League when you have a Superman that's that powerful.
Yeah.
It's boring.
And he is that powerful, but there are more things here that everyone else does, or that it's more clearly indicated what they're doing.
Right.
Like, of course, you have the heavy hitters, Wonder Woman and Aquaman. They're keeping Steppenwolf distracted, and then Cyborg is doing his thing. They explain a lot more with the mother boxes and how he's connected to them, and then they explain how Flash has to come in and how he has to do something important, really important. And then Batman, he's Batman. He's the plan maker.
Obviously now you can sort of see how Flashpoint's going to happen. You can sort of see.
Oh my god!
He doesn't have the firmest grasp.
You're going to have to break the rule, Barry.
Grasp over time travel.
Gotta do it.
But he at least has an understanding that. First of all, he's capable of moving that fast. They didn't do the whole Superman is all powerful. He's just as fast as the Flash guys.
Yeah. Or Barry, you've got to go faster. You've got to go faster. I lost my speed. I don't have my
We
speed.
are the Flash.
You gotta go faster. Iris.
And I will say, I already like this Iris just from like the 2 seconds we see her on screen.
Well, wait, was that supposed to be Iris? Because literally,
Yeah, it is.
That scene made me so uncomfortable.
Yeah,
That
that's
was,
whole,
that
like,
was the weirdest.
How
thing
he's just
to
sort of like
ever
looking at her
experience.
in slow motion.
I'm just like, dude,
sort of,
wait, I was just
yeah.
like, why are you touching her face like that?
It's a little weird.
And then he goes,
But he's in
hey,
love.
look, giant hot
It's
dog
okay.
wiener. I was like, what?
Oh yeah, that comes in. But here's the thing,
What
though.
the hell
I
was
thought
that
it was
entire
cool.
scene?
Yeah.
And then he was just like, oh yeah, I magically don't have any shoes anymore, but I'm hanging out with all the dogs and go like, hey, whenever stuff like this happens, I always make sure to have a meat snack in my pocket. Yes, you're looking less and less creepy by the second.
He's pretty
obviously,
sus.
buddy. Yeah, throw him out the chamber. Another reason why I still don't like that Flash, but
Oh yeah.
well.
I love this version of Flash.
One visual effect. Oh
He
yeah,
has
that's
his moments,
one thing
but
I
yeah.
liked. That I thought maybe initially in the Justice version that the comedic Flash would have been a product of his script writing, but he's still comedic in this. Like to me, if you put Michael Rosenbaum's voice doing all his lines, I could see it being the Wally West Flash from the cartoon. He behaves like him in a way, but where was I going with this? Yeah, it's like the same Flash, but without all the bad lines. Like nothing about brunch, nothing about falling on Wonder Woman's tits.
Back in the Flash.
All the shitty lines have been ejected. And it's interesting because in the previous 2 films, Man of Steel and BVS, I felt like the attempts at humor didn't land at all. But here I thought they were okay.
I felt the same way.
No,
It works with Flash.
they got me to maybe chuckle twice.
And
each.
So I will say, I think that is part of why they brought in Joss Whedon of all people to do the reshoots initially, was because, he had a reputation as being this sort of lighthearted director, this guy who could bring humor to the stage without it sort of seeming unnatural.
He just
And
does
everyone likes
Firefly
it.
over and over.
But it's like literally, Snyder's clearly capable of delivering that kind of humor. It's clearly something that they could have done with the script.
Which
but,
I will give Ezra Miller
think
props for in his performance. I will give props towards that, but I still don't like him.
I do think both Man of Steel and BVS were meant to be darker movies. It wasn't meant to have that same sort of sense of comic relief. This is more meant to be enjoyed and taken in, like really as a culmination of those events. It's not meant to be set up in the grand scheme of things in the same way BVS and Man of Steel were. It's it's more entertaining in that sense. And yeah, obviously they're capable of having this humor without coming off as super crass or super early 2000s, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it works to me because it's mainly, aside from a little bit with Aquaman, it's mainly just Flash's character, and that's how it was in the cartoon again. You had him to balance everything out, like the tense moments, and then you have Flash. It works. It works for me. Whereas before, it was like everyone was trying to have the witty remarks, or, oh my god, the worst lines, like when he comes back, Lois Lane, and I don't know if this was a misheard line, because I thought I heard it again here, but it wasn't, when she's with them in the cornfield, and she says, "You smell good." What? And he's like, "Did I not before?" But here he says, "You spoke."
You spoke.
And I don't know, I feel like I almost misheard "you smell good" again. I was like, no, she said "you spoke." I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Also,
he started talking.
I'm glad they actually added in the scenes with Superman and Lois after he's brought back from the dead, because in original Justice League, oh god, that's painful to say even. They just fly off, and then they're fighting. They're trying to do all this stuff with the mother boxes, and then he's like, it's absolutely nothing. We have no idea what's going on. Then, bam, he goes, all right, guys, bring out the broom because I'm about to sweep this shit up for you.
They still have the cornfield scene, but there were dumb lines.
It's been a while since I've seen the theatrical release, but I'm pretty sure they had some inkling of that in the original.
And she says,
possibly, but I've repressed most of it.
She says, how did it feel? And he goes, itchy. And then at the end, like when they pull the mother box apart, and they're both like, it was Superman and Cyborg on the ground, which doesn't happen here. He's like, Cyborg's like, oh my god, I can feel my toes. I can't even process how that's even possible. Okay. And then Superman says, I wish I was dead again. What? Yeah, so do I, because I've had to sat through this crap.
So I will say, and I think part of the reason why Snyder was so vilified by the journalist class, right? Are you guys familiar with the concept of the male gaze? as it's referred to in feminine
yes
circles. The male gaze. The idea
I've
that
never been called an attractive man, so I do not know what a male gaze is. No.
So it's the idea that essentially male directors and male, just anyone who's a creator from in really any medium, but basically in film especially, that men tend to objectify women, and anytime you see a woman on screen, it's really just to show off her tits and make her an object of sexual gratification. And part of the reason why Snyder was so hated by the press was because people saw that whole Wonder Woman Flash falling on Wonder Woman's tits thing as just being like, this is
they did the same thing with Bruce Banner in Black Widow. Like,
also true, but
I think everyone knew that was something that was part of the reshoots. And I knew it was.
I mean, you sort of expected it to be, but I think that's part of the reason why there was this sort of vilification of him, because people thought that this is his style of filmmaking, that there's something really crass about Zack Snyder. There's some association here that we just don't want to be a part of.
I always thought it was more of that they perceived him as trying to be too artsy with a medium that people see as, it's like McMovies, right? Superhero things. It's a Big Mac. You just eat it, you consume it, you get excited for the next one. And the way he comes at it is in this very... and I think I've shown you this video before where it takes all of these comparisons of like paintings and different works of art and different shots that he's lined up, because that's what he's really good at. That's his specialty, right? With 300 and Watchmen, he translates existing art to the screen, and he incorporates that into these original stories, but, they're a lot darker than the competition. And people, I guess, think it's trying to be too serious and too highbrow, maybe too, pretentious for what it is, but I don't really think it is. To me, it's always, this is what it would be like if these characters lived in our downtrodden, cynical world, and in that regard, I respect what he was going for.
Yeah. Well, I think overall, you make I'm not sure if Zack Snyder was the best person to guide the DCU.
To build a whole universe.
What was a Marvel adjacent thing, right? Because you're absolutely right. Marvel is meant to be consumed individually. They're meant to be entertainment first. They're not meant to have too much depth beyond the occasional fan theory, and they're great for what they are. The Marvel fan base absolutely justified in liking Marvel movies.
This is what WB wanted, though, because when they did Green Lantern, kind of a bomb, and they said, okay, the lighthearted stuff isn't going to work for us. Do more Dark Knight. All right, get this guy who did Watchmen, who we know is pretty good. It's what they wanted.
Nolan.
In theory, that works pretty well.
Yeah, and Christopher Nolan was a producer on Man of Steel, at least. I don't know about BVS, but he was credited in Snyder.
He was on Man of Steel, yeah. I think he was on BVS, and obviously it was the same screenwriter behind all those movies. Chris Terrio was
it was David S. Goyer, I think, alone. Might have been alone. Oh no, David S. Goyer and Jonathan Nolan, I think, for Man of Steel, and then it was David Goyer and Chris Terrio in BVS, and then BVS, no Goyer, just Chris Terrio and Snyder himself.
Right. So the point is, if your goal was not to have a lighthearted thing, if your goal was to have something with a lot of depth, Snyder, went for depth. He went for something that was bigger than just an individual movie. And obviously, the Snyder Cut is the culmination of that, right? It's basically exactly what you would expect and exactly what you would want out of Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
In simple terms, he shot his shot.
Yes, he did.
So have we actually discussed any spoilers yet? I think maybe
I don't think
a little
so.
bit, but
all right, here's the spoiler.
Spoiler banner up.
Should I? Yeah, I'll put it up. Here we go. Okay, so the first spoiler, the reason why this movie is 4 hours long is because at least half of it is in slow motion.
Yes. Seriously. Yes. Oh my God. What is with him in the slow-mo? Man of Steel, Batman, cool. Superman, this.
Watchmen uses it a lot too.
Why?
Yeah. That's his style. Aesthetically, look, it looks really cool, especially for characters like the Flash, who,
that makes sense, at least.
Yeah. But no, it's just a cool thing, and it's an aesthetic choice. It's not too hard to pull off, so I get it.
But hey, too much of a good thing is not good. But I mean, hey, like I'm not going to be completely hater mode. But I was just like, okay, is this necessary? Come
you know what
on.
it reminded me of, and I hate to say this, but it kind of reminded me of the Paul Wes Anderson Resident Evil films. Because all the action scenes in those are all slow motion. Just excessive slow motion.
It's been probably at least a decade since I've seen any of them, so
you know
I fully don't remember.
All right,
that
different comparison. It's like a film that's a musical where like every scene just breaks into song and there's little breaks between it. But I guess eventually
now that I get.
Yeah. I got used to it eventually.
Theater nerd.
So, yeah, I mean, look, I already said it. In my opinion, it's an A movie. Like, I would... A being the letter grade, not saying it's just...
I was going to say, I was like, wait, am I hearing what I'm
Yeah, I realized
here?
how that sounded the second I said it, but...
this is a movie.
Yeah,
it is a movie.
9 out of 10.
Yes. That's what we're talking about.
So what did I like? What did I hate? Look, I really don't have too many moments that I disliked. I already mentioned the Martian Manhunter thing. It's... I'm glad they brought him in, but it could have been a little more organic. There were parts of the movie that I thought dragged a little bit, which, considering how well-paced the thing was for a 4-hour-long movie, I'm not complaining. I can definitely look past that. But yeah, I mean, there were parts of the dialogue and stuff, which obviously isn't Snyder's fault.
And thank God we didn't get a lighthearted booyah.
Oh, yeah.
And
that annoyed me.
I saw Ray Fisher post a tweet, and it made sense to me. He was saying... Why are people asking me why there's no booyah when you're not asking why there's no up, up, and away? And anything, like old Superman used to say.
He has a song.
Right, it wouldn't have been appropriate.
Superman say up, and away.
Or why is Batman not saying Great Scott, Robin?
What?
Great Scott, Robin.
Did he actually used to say that?
Yes, all the time.
Oh, shit.
They both did. Superman and Batman in the old cartoons, they just used to say Great Scott a lot. I don't know, it was a thing back then.
I think it was just like a common expression back then.
Yeah, and Ray Fisher should also put, why aren't Wonder Woman's weapons named what they originally are? Because they're creepy. And they... What's the word? They swayed towards obvious things that people aren't into.
I don't know what you're referencing, but...
Because we all know the guy that created Wonder Woman was a sadist. So.
Oh, yeah, he was super into bondage.
Moving on.
BDSM.
Moving on. Because stupid crap.
William Marston.
Yeah, people do a study on my head because I don't know what goes on in here.
That's a perfectly logical place to go to while we're discussing this.
Speaking of weird and dark things, I mean... The DC Universe has been dark for a while. Like, if you just look at the 90s, look at all the dark stuff happened then. The death of Superman, Bane breaks Batman. There was something planned with Wonder Woman that didn't pan out. I won't go into any detail about that.
Didn't Donna Troy get electrocuted or something?
That was Titans.
She didn't.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Right.
But,
wow. Why the hell did I remember that?
Wonder Woman was forced, I think this was in the 90s, could have been 2000s, to actually kill Maxwell Lord. That's pretty dark.
Who is he again?
He's Pedro Pascal in Wonder Woman 1984. He's
okay. I still not seen 84.
But he's different in the comics. He has mind control powers.
Can you believe in 2017 Wonder Woman was considered to be the best DC movie of any of them, and Justice League was considered a letdown, and now it's like the complete opposite?
Yeah.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Now that moment did not happen.
Wonder Woman 1984, objectively not a great movie. Anyone who's seen it would tell you the same thing.
There we go. I made sure Justice League never existed.
Yep. I don't think you could even watch it on HBO Max. It's not even there.
No, it's not on there.
I don't think it is.
Well, it's getting the DVD release right now, so I'm sure.
Why?
Well, it's still like a property that they want to sell. I'm sure there's some people.
I mean, fair enough, but you'd have a better shot of selling Bruce Willis DVD.
They had the DVDs of Justice League, of course. When the movie was out of theaters, but I don't know if they'll put that back into print at this point.
Yeah, that's all depends, I guess.
I mean, you got to wonder if there's anyone in the world who's seen both movies and actually prefers the Joss Whedon version.
There's probably some diehard Joss Whedon fans who are like, oh my god, I love Firefly! I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer! Joss, I love you!
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It just seems like everyone's against him at this point. Even like the former diehard fans. You know?
Even the former cast are
Didn't
coming
he just
out
get in
against him.
trouble recently?
Oh yeah, he's under like a bunch of different allegations.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if he ever sexually harassed anyone, but basically,
It's mostly for him being a dick.
everyone's saying like he made
Weinstein,
everyone feel
who cares?
unsafe on set, and everyone's saying,
Threatened
he
their
was super
career.
aggressive. Just brought a bad energy to set. I don't know if he was not convicted, but accused of anything illegal.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
made working conditions not great.
And let's be fair, with this one, he ejected Cyborg's whole story.
Oh yeah,
Cyborg
like
is integral. He's integral to the whole freaking mother box
kind
thing.
of important considering
literally-
he brought back to life by a mother box.
Yeah,
if-
and it's explained what
just
they are.
saying.
Living machines. Okay,
Yeah.
I got it. Living machines from... Oh, and I like this detail. Different universe. Multiverse. They say the word multiverse.
I
It
did
was
appreciate
always
that.
there since 2017 to do the whole multiverse thing.
Look, at this point, I don't think that's a complicated idea to get behind. I don't think you need to be a comic fan to understand what the multiverse is.
Well, I mean, if you're a boomer... it's
Just
like,
ask the
eh.
Flash.
But it's like, yeah, you get the sense in the original Justice League and even up in the Avengers up until this point, because they still haven't confirmed the existence of a multiverse beyond Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. They're obviously going to reveal it at that point.
At some point.
It's like, do they think the audiences are stupid that they couldn't understand this very simple concept that there's an infinite amount of universes?
We
I
are
mean-
talking about the same people that are complaining on Twitter every day about stupid stuff, so...
Watch Discovery or the Science Channel at any time. There's something going on about, astrophysics or whatever, and then they talk about Hawking and how he proposed this whole thing and all that.
Well, look, I'm not
Then
even
Neil
saying you need
deGrasse
to
Tyson comes in and
understand.
make it cool for the kids.
I'm not even saying you need to have like an in-depth understanding of string theory or an understanding of what the multiverse is in reality, but
Draw me the equations.
in
that
a comic
explain
book, in a comics
The
perspective,
anti-life
it's not a hard
equation.
concept to get behind.
Hear me out.
I think it takes all of 2 seconds to explain it to an audience, and I guess Far From Home they briefly explained it in the last Spider-Man movie, but even that is like just it's
I don't even remember the last
actually.
Spider-Man movie at this point.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good, but
Which one was it again? Was it
Far From Home? It's the one with Jake Gyllenhaal where he's Mysterio and he claims to be from a
I
different
enjoyed it.
universe, but he's not.
Gotcha. I enjoyed it.
So
I just gotta remember which one was which.
and they sort of hint at it in WandaVision, but that doesn't pan out. And
Yes.
I think like once the next Doctor Strange movie comes through, they're actually going to explore that a little bit more. But it
believe
begs the
so,
question:
yeah.
why couldn't they just sort of introduce that concept in the original cut of Justice League? Why did they treat the audience as if we didn't know what was going on here?
And it is kind
even
of
like-
just thrown in a little bit. Not, I won't say maybe not to the extent as it is in obscure reference. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Way at
That's
the end,
only one I saw.
when they're like, they're aliens from outer space? No, different dimension, different universe. Because here it's kind of like, it's Wonder Woman explaining the whole backstory to Bruce, and she mentions that he's from, or Darkseid's from a different universe, and now I was like, oh, okay, I guess so. I mean, I don't know if the New Gods were always in canon from a
think they were
separate
always-
universe.
I think they were always part of the same universe canonically.
Probably.
Yeah,
I could see it being introduced separately. But
I like the idea that Steppenwolf alone, they say he's conquered like tens of thousands of worlds, and Darkseid's conquered hundreds of thousands. But
Yeah.
the one that got away, Earth. Why? The anti-life equation. But why is it on Earth? We don't know.
We probably won't know
So,
because
We will never know.
even though Steppenwolf was tasked to capture that planet, he was told by Desaad.
But yeah, real
you
quick.
still owe 50,000 worlds. And I thought
Damn.
at that moment Steppenwolf was going to cry.
What did he do?
'Cause I was like,
what did
what
he
did-
do to
Yeah, I'm
to
wondering.
deserve
I
that?
just remember that him going like something about usurping a throne. I was like, what? What's
Well,
that
it
to do
sounds-
with anything?
Well, so look, canonically, Darkseid is the ruler of Apocalypse. He's
Yes.
born into it. It's like he's
Because the
basically-
Omega effect.
when he's Euxus, he's actually the prince of Apocalypse before formally becoming Darkseid after getting his mother killed.
Well, yeah,
Long
originally it was
story,
supposed to be
long
Drax, and then he killed him. And
Yeah. I mean,
we got-
any DC fans know the story.
Did you
But,
say Drax?
yeah,
Yeah,
Drax
wasn't that
is
his brother's name?
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
thinking of the green
DC
one.
Drax.
That's what I did too. All right.
different tracks, but not related.
You know what
Two
it-
Drax.
You know what it could have been, because, like you said, he was Euxus in the flashback scenes. He wasn't full on Darkseid yet. I don't think at that point he had the Omega Force.
Right.
But it could have been before he ascended.
I think
to
as
that.
soon as his actual body is turned to stone, that he's officially Darkseid, right?
Oh yeah, he's officially Darkseid.
So I'm pretty sure any past appearances they show him as full Darkseid.
Yeah. What I'm thinking it could have been is maybe before he ascended to the full Darkseid persona, that maybe Steppenwolf challenged his authority, and that's why he, and lost. Clearly, so maybe that's why he has to.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think him being like, I just asked a question.
So I don't think they'll ever formally explore it, and I don't think they necessarily need to. But I'm pretty sure they're going for the whole thing where it's like instead of Drax being also up for the throne, and instead of Darkseid essentially having taken the throne from him, Steppenwolf tried to usurp the throne. He being Darkseid's uncle, it would make sense that he would want that power for himself. He was born into this royal family, and he'll never actually see the throne. So, I sort of get that, right? Like, that's not all too uncommon of a theme in monarchies. I could see that.
Not too far-fetched, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I really don't think they need to go too in-depth with that, but you sort of get that that's his motivation, that he tried and failed to usurp the throne from Darkseid, and basically now his whole motivation is trying to make it back, trying to get back into his good graces, because that's really the only way he could actually have any form of power, is just being Darkseid's lackey for all of eternity.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And even though every time it was like, Steppenwolf, you useless piece of crap.
Yeah.
Pretty much. They were just talking so low to him the entire time. They were just like, you failure, you loser, you traitor.
Jane, you ignorant slut.
Yeah, exactly.
Desaad is like, why have you still not found all the mother boxes? Oh, let me say, I love that visual of kind of the molten tar, lava hologram thing.
Yeah.
What a creative way to show communication.
That was great.
The interdimensional Zoom call.
Yeah.
Interdimensional Zoom.
That's just what we do in COVID times across multiverses.
And you can get that filter for your camera if you get Discord Nitro now using our promo code.
God.
Utterly not. No.
I hate you.
We don't actually have a promo code. Don't try it, please.
Guys, he's screwing with you on that one. This is why we hate John half the time.
If you search Utterly Nonsense on Snapchat, you could get the molten lava tar filter. No.
Hope you subscribe right now.
we got on Vero before we got on Snapchat. What's up with that?
Well, how do you even do Snapchat? Does anyone use it besides Mike at this point?
I've never been on it. I've literally never had an account with it, so I don't know how it still has a following. I just remember it sort of started declining after I got out of high school, so I never really saw the point there. What else can we say about this movie?
Yeah.
It has the same basic plot progression, I guess, as the original version. He's got to find all the heroes. They got to get introduced in some way. Then they show Steppenwolf coming in. He's taking the boxes, and they're like, okay, we got to do something about it.
Kick ass, take
Superman's got to come back. There he is. Okay, goodbye. Now we got to face him. And then, oh, look, he's back, and now we go fight him. Same progression, but much more
That's
expanded.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's not too much to add as far as the plot goes. If you saw the original Justice League, you're not going to be too lost, since it is essentially the same plot. It's just really drawn out. It's made to actually make sense. It's Justice League, but good. Okay.
Here's one thing that doesn't make sense.
Justice League, but good.
The beginning part, where Superman's death cry awakens the mother boxes. They make an assumption. They say, okay, well, they never awoke because they were afraid of Superman. But what about all the thousands of years between where Superman wasn't there?
Yeah, I was also sort of wondering
before
about that.
Krypton even existed.
Yeah. I don't know that.
No, I thought that was sort of brushed over, and that was actually one of the sort of gripes I was thinking of. Why do they assume they need Superman all of a sudden?
You got
the fact that he is just a physically strong, power heavy.
Well, think about Bruce's nightmare vision and how much that must have affected him. Because remember that he remembers what Flash told him, and he says, "You were right about him. Fear him." And Lois is the key. Yeah. He knew something was coming. He knew they would have to have as much manpower, human power, person power as they would have.
Well, it's weird when you think about, considering how long of a jump it's been from BVS, and I don't know if they ever really explain exactly how long it's been between BVS and Justice League, but I'm guessing over the course of a few months, maybe a year at the most. it's like he went to idolizing Superman pretty quickly, right? Like he went to thinking, oh, he's an existential threat to, oh, he's like our savior really quickly, right?
Martha.
He changed his name. It changed his name.
Martha,
changed his
Martha,
mind
Martha.
pretty quick. And then,
they
of
could've
course,
figured that
Mr.
out better.
All Logic and Reason. Have faith, Alfred.
Yeah, I like
Mr.
that.
Albert. I'm
Albert.
losing it with names today.
Can I say, Jesse
Sorry,
Eisenberg?
because it's Jeremy Irons.
Jesse Eisenberg played a great Joker in BVS. He played
Better
a
than
great
Jared
Joker.
Leto.
Or
Better than Jared Leto.
So,
Or
what
Mad
did
Hatter.
you think of Jared Leto's actual Joker? And just like, since it's a pretty drastic difference from what we saw in Suicide Squad.
It didn't outwardly repulse me.
Put the clown makeup me.
That's a
take
good
my
sign.
hair green, I'm doing it better. That's all I'm saying.
But it wasn't as
Put the
cringy.
full crap
At
on
least
the
it
ball.
wasn't as cringy as in Suicide Squad. Like I wasn't.
Yes, less cringe.
I wasn't
so bad.
gagging myself while seeing it, and they have good dialogue. It's actually a pretty good
was
interaction.
decent.
There's a lot of hints to previous things in Batman comics.
How he was like, oh, a mother, a father, adopted son. I'm just like, oh, he's going in already. I'm like, okay.
Mhm.
Use your next words carefully.
He goes all the way
I
in.
wasn't carefully.
He's like,
he was just like, oh, really?
he knows a
He
little
was
thing
literally
about
sent a
that.
boy to do a Batman's job.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, what?
And he references Jason Todd and, his parents dying, and then Batman's like, he's talking about Harley Quinn dying in his arms. And it's like,
Which is
the last
odd.
thing,
I was like,
the last thing she asked me is to kill you. And when I do it, to do it slowly. And make no mistake. I will kill you. And he says,
I will fucking kill you. Yeah.
and then
Great.
Superman's here
Great.
because they literally were like avoiding. And also, did anyone notice how Mira's hair was literally more genuine ginger like mine?
yeah.
That just bothered me.
Yeah, it was lighter.
aesthetically.
It wasn't so
That is-
saturated like in
I was like,
Aquaman.
why?
Hmm.
And
This
then
is realistic.
she was just like, I'm going to get revenge on what he did to Arthur. I'm like, Darkseid killed him. Not
So,
Superman. What the hell are
clearly-
you talking about?
No, it was probably Superman, because you see Superman holding a skeleton, which was probably Lois, and at that point Darkseid puts his hand on him. Darkseid probably came to Earth, got the anti-life equation, and used it to brainwash everyone, including Superman. That's what it does.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
yeah.
It takes away free will.
A slave to Darkseid,
Yeah.
yes. But I was just more like, wait, we clearly see him grab his trident and then just right up against the rock. I'm just like, hey, we could be wrong because, like you said, places ain't anti-life. Everyone's under my control now.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah, I mean-
I remember in the dream, it literally had the giant Omega symbol embedded into the actual Earth.
Yeah, here's one
So-
thing I didn't get about how Steppenwolf knew the anti-life equation was there. So he gets a vision from the mother
Well, yeah,
boxes, and it's a reused CGI sequence from the one with Darkseid where he pounds the ground and the thing appears. They just put the Steppenwolf model there instead. So in telling the previous story, we're to assume that Darkseid actually did that, but now Steppenwolf does it, and he's like, he knows that it's there. How?
My lord!
Right. So I will say we're also assuming that all the nightmare sequences we're seeing are a objective future, like it's an objective reality that we've,
But it
like a few
changes.
people have seen reality of. Yeah, exactly.
Here's
shift
what brings
from-
up this point.
from-
As the Kryptonian AI said, the future shown is now rooted in the present. Literally, as the Flash was coming down to revive Superman,
That's a good
that's
catch.
what the
Yeah.
shit was literally saying the entire time.
You're right. I
Like,
thought that
"Don't do
line was
this.
weird.
We know what's going to happen. And I
Yeah.
was just like, all right.
It's like Judgment Day, right? They can change it, they can postpone it, but it's still
it's
somehow
inevitable.
inevitable.
At the time, I sort of took that to mean, oh, Superman's going to be brought back eventually, if not by these guys, by either
Somebody
Darkseid or
else.
someone else. Exactly.
Mm.
Someone who could turn him, someone who could use his powers for evil. He clearly has that tendency naturally, right? Like, the fact that he automatically went violent as soon as, really they awoke him. And, to be fair, Cyborg did sort of turn aggressive first, unwillingly.
right off the
Yeah.
bat.
But he went full force against them very quickly,
Yeah. I like the part where he's trading headbutts with Wonder Woman, which that sequence was in the
That was funny.
Yeah,
the
was mostly-
reshot
yeah.
version.
Justice
But it was
League.
kept
It's the
here,
Justice
and
League.
our favorite scene from the Joss version with Flash running and then Superman catching him in slow motion, it's still in
And
there.
just going like,
Yes.
really? I was glad that scene made it because I genuinely laughed.
I just
my
like
ass
his
out
face
when
where he's like-
Superman just do that. He goes like, yes, I'm pretty fast too.
Yeah, so he's still very fast, and to be fair, the reason why I don't think the Flash is automatically like actually able to avoid him that easily, and actually able to get away from him very slightly, but like is still the reason why I think Superman's able to keep up with him there is because Superman is fully enraged, fully unbridled, and the Flash is also freaked the fuck out. The Flash doesn't like he's in such a panic mode right now. It's not occurring to him, oh, I can easily run faster than this guy if I really try to.
Yeah, remember, he says this Superman was my hero. He says that, and I like that. Yeah. And so he's seeing his hero come back from the dead, trying to kill everybody, and not just that, but as fast as he is, yeah, I too would be like,
I would have been like, crap.
Yeah, like, oh shit.
Yeah, I would have been like, well, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, that's a good scene, and I like how it's sort of explained. It's not Batman that brings in Lois this time, it's just she happened to be in the area because she's constantly visiting the monument.
And I feel like the Martian Manhunter did attribute to that factor, going like, you need to come back to your life, Lois. Pretty much.
Yeah, he's like, the world needs you too, Lois.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was so much better than...
I know that there was a pregnancy test in her drawer when she grabbed her press pass.
That I didn't notice.
Yeah, how did I notice that of all things? I'm the most blind here.
I did not notice that.
No, I didn't notice that. Yeah, I will say, I think her actual presence there made a lot more sense than how it did in Justice League, right? Just having
it's better than her just randomly go get her. No, like where the hell did you come from?
Here's a few obvious things that should have been included in the original, not the original, in the theatrical cut, but weren't. The third Mother Box getting taken. They literally just yada the fuck out of that in the original release, right? Like, it literally just a boom tube opens up in Star Labs, and end of action.
That's it.
And then
now there's actual emotional stakes. Oh, Silas actually brought it back into Star Labs to try to place a marker on it so they could easily find where they're bringing the Mother Boxes. He gave them a fighting chance and sacrificed himself doing that. Fucking awesome. Gave it emotional stakes.
Yeah, and there's a built-up relationship with him and his son. You see all that past. It's all there.
Mm-hmm. It actually feels like a real loss, and it's well carried out.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, crap. I was just like, well, now I feel bad.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how I was just like, wow, oh, geez, this got real.
Yeah, and look, it obviously made Cyborg seem like an actual character instead of just an human MacGuffin, right? So that
the freaking MacGuffin.
Like, obviously, they just saved the arc that was just thrown aside in the original.
Can I say, and I don't know why this wasn't included in the Joss version at all. All of the scenes where Cyborg is kind of like, not in the dream world, but it's like a vision of how he sees things in this cyber world. They basically build him up to be the most powerful technological thing on the planet, which is cool because we have all of these specialties. Batman's the best, he's the best intellect. Superman's the strongest. Wonder Woman's the best warrior. Aquaman's he's Aquaman.
The best swimmer.
Flash is the fastest. Cyborg is the most tech. They all bring something important and unique.
Right.
And I like those scenes where it's depicting him interacting with the machines and he can see things and he can manipulate them. It's like, yeah, cool.
And now I have to ask, when the hell was he able to fly? In Teen Titans, he was never.
That's a different cyborg. There's two different cyborgs.
Obviously, yeah.
There's pre-New 52, which is just man and machine, and then there's post-New 52, which is like the Mother Box Apocalypse cyborg, which is very much powered up.
And you think about it makes a lot of sense that he's like literally imbued with this alien technology, this technology that is so far, it's so far beyond human capabilities. It's so far beyond anything we're capable of comprehending. Of course, he's going to easily be able to interact with any machine on this planet.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And then they add that little like a heartwarming moment. This woman's got $11.92 in her bank account. Hey, how about everybody right now in this pandemic? Haha.
This planet or another planet.
And then it goes like, bam, 100K. I was just like, you are a goddamn great man.
No. Seems like he could do that for a lot more people.
Yeah, hey, Cyborg, cancel my student loans.
You know how much it would cost to actually cancel student loans for everyone in the country?
I don't know, less than the National Defense Bill.
Yeah, actually, $1.8 trillion.
What?
Which $1.8 trillion, which is actually less than what was spent on the last few stimulus packages. So something they could do. They choose not to. whatever. Moving on.
Where's that Kermit the Frog meme with the T?
We won't take it personally, but when you're looking for, a little support, I might look that way. Not at you.
We are terrible people.
Okay, so what else can we say? Third act, they actually color corrected it, which was nice.
I noticed that, yeah.
Do you remember just how terrible it looked in the original version? How everything was bright and red for
Too much red!
No, I literally got a headache from the way they had it, like, colored-wise and all that. Like, in the original... Not the Joss Whedon version.
Joss Whedon.
Yeah,
Sweden!
I can't say names right, all right?
So, yeah, now it actually looks, first of all, like it's Snyder's vision. You can tell he actually shot this. It doesn't just look like something that was done quickly in reshoots. And, it just looks so much cleaner. The action actually flows pretty well. You're not, like, confused watching any of this.
All the action scenes are longer. All of them.
Yeah.
They're all longer.
Yes, literally all of them.
Weird. Like, you would think, action scenes, they'll just leave those. No! Why were they shortened for the theatrical version?
Yeah, it makes literally no sense.
Because they hate human happiness and joy.
And again, it reiterates the point we made earlier, right? Like, all of these characters work so well as a team. If they just left this in, it would have been a better movie.
Yeah.
Literally, like, yeah.
Like, even just fighting Steppenwolf, after Superman comes in, he doesn't go and intervene with what Flash is doing. He doesn't make Flash look unimportant or not as useful as he could be. He's fighting. Of course, he's the biggest heavy hitter, but, he works together with Wonder Woman and Aquaman. You see them all get their hits in, and I really like when he's just pounding the shit out of him. He's just like...
and then we get the sequence from the trailer.
Yep.
It just goes full red eyes. And I'm like, all right, here we go.
The way they finally off him is just... It's so good. Everyone gets a hit in.
Very much. That was my favorite part.
Yeah. Oh, and Cyborg, he has the sonic boom arms. Finally.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank God.
I got the sonic if you got the boom.
Teen Titans reference for everybody.
Yeah, I think they know.
The good one.
I think
Booyah. My man.
Step on that, wolf.
Like, once again for Eric. But overall, the way that Superman was just able to give him a pounding, beam off one of his horns, and then for some reason he just retracts his armor. I was just like, what the hell? That's stupid. And then he goes tries to get another hit in, and then just Aquaman goes nope.
Yep.
You're my catch of the day.
Superman might be stronger because he uses, and I like that this was something that was congruent with the two, that he uses I keep thinking of Vision, the frost breath to freeze his axe and then it breaks apart.
I thought that was...
He didn't have that before.
No, and also because I think before that, a couple scenes before, he literally flew up into the atmosphere, sun's rising. I'm just like, all right, someone's taking a sun bath.
Oh yeah, you got to power up. And in BVS, that scene was taken directly from the whole cinematic trailer to DC Universe Online, where it shows Superman next to the sun, and then and then you see his eyes glowing. Direct.
Which makes no sense.
Yeah. Speaking of the color correction, I noticed all the effects look a lot more crisp, sharp, and clear. Like, one complaint I had about the theatrical one was, especially when Flash was running, all of the lightning everywhere made it look really murky and cloudy, and I couldn't tell what was going on. But here, it's like they touched it up.
Well.
It's like everything is sharp.
Do well for my eyes.
Yeah, no, it did look just a lot cleaner, and you can tell the VFX team actually had time to, work on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those little wires he had around his suit, the fact that you could see little bolts of electricity bounce off them and come off them. I was just like, all right, that is a good effect. Yeah. That's why the suit makes the suit look best as it can.
Here's the best effect in the whole movie. No mustache! Yeah!
For who?
Cavill. In the reshoots, they had to CGI his face because he had to grow a mustache for Mission Impossible 5.
Yeah.
Or
that's stupid.
Whichever one was the one that Henry Cavill was in. He had a full mustache and stubble.
Oh
so
my God.
When he came in for the Joss Whedon reshoots, anytime you're seeing him on screen, his face was completely recreated using CGI. And it's the most noticeable thing in the movie.
It wasn't even as good as a deep fake. It was
I think
worse.
I repressed that one as well because that just sounds like...
Good. Yeah, it was. No one liked that. What else? Darkseid, what can you say? It's great. He looks good. The first trailer we got where he appeared, I thought, okay, that looks a little unfinished. It looks finished here. Very detailed. He looks good. He sounds great. Like, oh. Yes, we see the Omega Beams!
Yeah, that I was very excited about the Omega Beams. I had to be really honest. I geeked at that part.
And I like how they leave it off, where they're just staring him down through the portal at the end, and know what's coming. He's like...
He's just like, you do realize I will come over there.
Like, ready the Armada. The invasion is coming, because this wasn't an invasion. This was just a little search party. Imagine what an invasion will be like. Yeah. Which we probably won't see,
we do this the old way. I was like, oh my.
This is his I'll do it myself moment.
Yeah, seriously.
So I will say, the fact that they were able to make the Snyder Cut be a thing gives me hope, right? It tells me that there's enough demand here that they would be willing to make a formal Snyderverse, that they'd be willing to put Zack Snyder back in charge, and at least give him another couple movies. And, we always sort of beg the question anytime there's a DC release as to what the future of the DC Extended Universe is going to look like. It looks like they could be heading towards Nightmare. It looks like they could be building towards that. And obviously Darkseid's going to play a force moving in. I don't think they would have given him the okay to completely create this character if they didn't have some future plans here.
I mean, there's definitely got to be Snyder's Cut Justice League 2 now.
Yeah,
considering the way they had the movie end.
The thing is, I don't know if we can guarantee that, because I know they were really, at least aside from the one part where he said he wanted to reshoot a few scenes, and they said no, but maybe just this one, which was the one with Joker. They were pretty hands off with it. To me, it was a surprise that they actually had it presented in the 4:3 scale.
Yeah,
because it's for streaming.
Honestly, you don't
everyone's streaming on 16:9, so for them to allow that shows just how hands off with it they were. So I don't think all of these things that are lingering.
We're going to be doing this in 4:3 as per Snyder's vision.
Yeah, it was like the Nightmare, or we didn't even get to see what the world's reaction was to Superman coming back. There's a lot of things hanging. I don't know if we'll get to see them. Or another thing, like when Luthor tells Deathstroke Batman is Bruce Wayne, that was to set up the original The Batman with Ben Affleck. But as we know, that's not happening now because it's Robert Pattinson.
And, to be fair, that's a Earth
2?
Year 1, maybe.
One of those Earths.
Earth 2.
Point is, it could be in a different universe. Obviously, couldn't canonically be in the DC Extended Universe, since they're sort of building in a few things that make it obvious that it's not part of the same universe. But I feel like that could be self-contained enough that it wouldn't distract from a Ben Affleck-led project if they chose to pursue that down the line. I think the fact that this came out sort of gives me hope that some of these characters could have solo movies if they were previously just removed from the role entirely, which I know Ben Affleck was talking about retiring for a while, since obviously they were completely.
We all know the pictures he's had on Twitter lately, where he's just
he just looks
all of us
dropping his donuts. Or I like this one that I like to use, where it's just him sitting, looking like he just looks so out of it.
That's literally me.
Yeah.
The point is, I could definitely see him coming back to this role,
and that would be interesting to say. Now, this does back in my question, since Deathstroke got brought up. Is it now canon that Ra's al Ghul is involved? Because as you can see on his sword, he's got the symbol of the... Goddamn, I can never remember the...
League of Assassins?
Yes, League of Assassins. Yeah, he has the symbol on his sword.
Yes. Right, that's another detail.
I actually don't... Yeah, I don't know if he had that in the original. I mean, look, it could have just been an Easter egg, and there were obviously a lot of Easter eggs in this movie.
Possible, but it's just saying, hey, who knows? But, obviously they're not bringing in Green Arrow because that's been overplayed, and we get it, CW.
Green Arrow is the god of the CW-verse. He is literally the creator. It is the Arrowverse.
Hashtag Spectre.
I just want to see more of these characters. That's what it comes down to. I want to see Shazam interact with these characters,
Yeah, Shazam should have been in it, if you ask me personally. But overall, who they were able to get into it with what they were given, very impressive.
Well, Shazam obviously takes place a while after the events of Justice League, because But it would be nice, and I could obviously see him.
Got to get Shazam, because think about it: if they have to face a whole armada, they're not just going to need the Justice League. They're going to need the Justice League Unlimited. Get everyone. And I mean everyone, even that guy with the cowboy with the 2 guns, get the knight, like the cosplayer with the sword, get the question.
Cosplayer?
Everyone. Yeah, there's minor characters in the Justice League cartoon. There's a guy who's, I don't know what he is, but he's dressed up as a knight, he has a sword. He doesn't really do anything else except fight with a sword. And a horse, maybe.
Can freaking do that too.
Yeah, that's why I said he's a cosplayer. Definitely get the question. He's got to ask the right questions.
Oh, yeah.
Like, aha, I knew it. 32 flavors. Yeah, so I see this going somewhere like, you have the Martian Manhunter set up. You got Shazam. Black Adam is somewhere, presumably. Somewhere.
Thankfully, it's going to be Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Here's my pitch to you, WB. You know how you do a Snyder League 2? This is going to be your moneymaker, right? Get The Rock in it!
Seriously. Or his midget counterpart, Kevin Hart.
Well, I know we know the...
Name me a time they ain't in the movie together and they're the little counterparts or bipolar opposites of each other.
Yep.
I mean, the Black Adam movie's coming, right? Like, we know it's coming soon.
Yeah, it is. He is, in fact, confirmed as Black Adam. I just remember that. I don't know if it's in production. I got no idea.
I know they gave it a release date, but I think it's a while down the line, like 2023 or something.
Yeah, so it's a while from now.
Point is, it's going to be made. So, they clearly have plans for it. It's not like the DC Extended Universe is dead in the water. There's still very much clearly projects in
Green
play.
Lantern.
So,
Aquaman 2.
Green Lantern Corps.
Aquaman 2 with maybe not Amber Heard.
Maybe Millie Clark.
No, because for the love of God.
Maybe Millie Clark.
Yeah, I would accept that. Just get a real redhead. Come on. Get Amy Adams.
I would accept that too. Damn it.
So
stop the redhead erasure.
So what else can we say?
That's another podcast for another time now.
We'll do that in the future. What else can we say about this movie that we haven't already?
The music, I thought, was okay. The best parts of it were the callbacks to previous ones, but I think you could clearly tell that Hans Zimmer is just a better composer overall, and that's not really a criticism to a Junkie XL. I mean, he's Hans Zimmer. He makes great tracks, but I think they work best together because whenever it was a double track with him, like with BVS or what was the other one? Oh, he did Man of Steel, but it was uncredited. I think they also did Amazing Spider-Man 2. He has like a spice to it that just builds onto Hans Zimmer. So anyway, I don't think the soundtrack was significantly better than the Danny Elfman one. That's just me. But it was okay. It was fine.
No, I didn't notice a huge difference, but overall, I thought the soundtrack was fine. Didn't blow me away, but I fully agree with you that
in the spots words of one of the Robins from Young Justice, I was not overwhelmed. I was just whelmed.
That's Dick Grayson, but yeah.
I said Robin.
No, it is. Well,
I just said one of the Robins because all right, but it was Dick. Got it.
I was that's like early on in the season.
Was it the other one that kind of annoys me? The
Tim Drake,
Damian Wayne.
Drake, yeah.
Well, Damian's not Tim Drake Justice yet. It's just
Damian Wayne is
and Jason Todd they completely brush over. Like I think he's canonically dead in that, but
he's dead.
Yeah, at this point, like at this point in the series,
he's on the holographic tube thing with Wally.
Canonically, right now it's just Dick Grayson and Tim Drake as the Robins, and Dick Grayson's Nightwing at this point in the series. So.
I'm getting more and more Alex Ross lighting as the day goes on because there's just my window.
I was gonna say, dang, where'd you go?
It's been getting dark in real time, and just look at my camera now. You only see the tops of me.
Yeah.
Is this real life or is this fantasy?
Hey. I was gonna say, how dark is your room?
Yeah. No, I don't have any other lights on.
So
the light is waning, and I think unless anybody has anything else to say, I've reached all my notes. We've covered all the points.
I think we got it.
But overall, I've expressed my joy towards it.
Yeah.
I believe.
All in all, the fans were right. The Snyder Cut did exist, and it was magnificent.
Raise the roof.
It's real, and it's magnificent.
And now, it's canon.
You're goddamn right.
Anyway, if you've sat through our podcast this long, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
First of all, God bless
on whatever
you.
platform you're on. If you have been watching this with us live, I don't think anyone has actually sat through this live the entire time. I know we've had a few viewers in and out, but
and we wouldn't blame you.
Whatever. Anyway, if you have stuck around in the audio version for this long, thanks for listening. Check out our other stuff. All of our podcast platforms and all of our previous episodes are up on our website, utterlynonsense.com. Go check it out if you liked what you heard here. With all that being said, John, do you have it queued up? I know we're live.
Yes, I do.
Screw this up. Okay, timing is everything here.
Peace, love, and happiness, everybody.
Out.